Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is October 23rd, and we're on page 58 in your magazines. Today we have a two-part article. Today we'll hear part one. Again, it's about local, domestic Taiwan culture. Our title is Discovering Taidong, a Cultural Journey Through Indigenous Villages.
Taidong holds a little bit of a special place in my heart. When I first came to Taiwan, I really tried to travel outside of Taipei a lot. I actually met my wife in Taipei, so I'm very much tied to this city. But we, especially early on, got out of Taipei and traveled around Taiwan, and I loved Taidong. I loved that whole part of the country. I had such a wonderful time there, and I still have such fond memories of that period and that place and that time. And anytime I can get back out there, I am all about it. I may be in a different time or different place. If my wife was not from the city, I might have ended up in Taidong.
Actually, a lot of people would agree with you, I think. Taiwan's eastern coast is so beautiful and less spoiled by pollution. That's one thing. So it's got natural beauty, less pollution. There are a couple of other things to keep in mind, though. They are subject to earthquakes.
You know, I was debating in my head whether to say this. While you were talking, I was thinking the east coast of Taiwan has had a rough couple of years regarding earthquakes and typhoons. It's just snake eyes. Snake eyes is a phrase in English that means you have bad luck. I feel just they've been rolling snake eyes for the past maybe 4 or 5 years regarding natural disasters.
And they have to keep rebuilding. Another thing about Taidong is over the past 20 years, people have been telling me I'm going to retire to Taidong. Many of my friends, both foreigners and local Taiwanese, have done exactly that. They moved to Taidong. Yilan and Taidong, those are the two places. People want to go there to retire, which is wonderful. And as far as I know, they're very happy there. And a third thing is one we're going to be talking about today is that's where a lot of Taiwan's indigenous cultures are centered.
It's another part while we were traveling. I really enjoyed seeing those indigenous villages and indigenous cultures, and I couldn't help but recognize the parallels between other indigenous villages and societies I had come across in my travels. And I noticed the similarities in arts. And I don't know exactly what or why this is. I've never had a satisfactory answer to it, but I've always been struck by the similarities between certain cultures around the world. Colors and phrasings and stylings. And of course, they're all unique in their own way, but these patterns that you see across societies that really reach back into their history. And it's so fascinating to me.
One reason for this is that Taiwan is widely recognized as the homeland of the whole Austronesian language family. So from Taiwan, it spread to the Philippines, to Malaysia and Indonesia, and then they went on to many Pacific islands, as far as Easter Island and Hawaii. And from there, they came back and they went to New Zealand and Madagascar. So if you go to New Zealand and Madagascar, for New Zealand, the language is very close to Hawaiian. In Madagascar, the language is very close to Indonesian. All of that originally came from Taiwan.
You know, I'm so happy you brought this up because I had heard of this and I didn't know how much credit to give it because I had only heard it kind of in passing and not from a source that I was entirely confident in. But it's so fascinating to me that all of these people all across these vast ocean come from hey, right here.
They're all from Taiwan.
That's incredible to think about.
There are other cultures too. For example, Australia, the native cultures there apparently are not related, so there are other cultures. But Austronesian has the widest geographical distribution of any language in the world.
Incredible.
They were incredible navigators. They would build ships, and then they would keep on going to different islands. Because some of the islands are quite small, they would reach a certain number of people. And if it's a small island, once it's more than 150 people, they're no longer as connected. We can stay connected somewhat easily to about 150 people. Once it's beyond that, they're going to kind of branch off and, have their own development. So, and also the island was small and resources were limited. And that apparently was the motivation they kept moving on. So you'll find them all over the world. You will find words that they have in common. There will be some word like limo for the number 5 wherever you go.
Interesting.
Yes. And also I was recently in New Zealand and they have facial tattoos almost just like the Atayal facial tattoos in Taiwan. One thing that's quite interesting is because Taiwan is the ancestral homeland, they have a very, very long timeline. That means these languages go way, way back in time. And the longer a language family is around, the more likely it's going to break up into smaller groups. So what happened in Taiwan is Austronesian started off as one language, but over time, it broke up into 4 branches. So Austronesian in Taiwan has 4 different branches. Of these 4 branches, only one of them set sail for all the other islands. The other 3 families or branches of the family are found only in Taiwan. But one of them eventually became Malayo-Polynesian, and that spread all over the world.
So I hold multiple degrees in history, and Karen taught me something brand new here. This has begun to recontextualize the way I understand the explorers of the Western world going around the world and meeting various peoples and their attitudes towards them. I never gave as much thought to the indigenous people, which is a blind side of mine. It's a kind of a blind spot of mine. And now to think like, oh, I live in the place where they originally were from, that gives this interesting depth that I had never considered, and I learned so much here. Thank you. That's fantastic to know.
Especially if you are Taiwanese, you should look into this and be aware of it. Okay, I think we need to jump into our article. All right, so our title is Discovering Taidong, A Cultural Journey Through Indigenous Villages. Taidong, located on Taiwan's southeastern coast, is renowned for its vibrant indigenous cultures and breathtaking natural landscapes. The region is home to several indigenous tribes, including the Amis, Puyuma, Rukai, Bunun, and Paiwan, each preserving their unique languages, customs, and traditions. Tribal tours in Taidong offer visitors an opportunity to explore traditional rituals, craftsmanship, and ways of life for meaningful cultural experiences. Among these communities, the Taromak tribe in Beinan Township stands out as the only settlement in Taidong County inhabited solely by Rukai people.
Situated in Dongxing Village, along the fertile banks of the Lijia River and surrounded by lush mountains, the Taromak tribe represents an important eastern branch of the Rukai people. Visitors, guided by experienced hunters, can trek through the forest to learn about plants used in traditional Rukai cuisine and medicine. Common examples include turmeric, prized for its bright color and healing properties, mountain celery, appreciated for its fresh aroma, and wild yam, a root vegetable rich in nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and fiber. This guided walk enables visitors to gain insight into the tribe's deep knowledge of sustainable foraging and sense of harmony with nature.
After exploring the forest, visitors can join a traditional bow-making workshop to craft their own bows and try archery. This hands-on activity offers a glimpse into ancestral hunting skills and their significance in tribal life. At night, the tribe hosts a musical feast featuring songs and dances that tell stories of ancestral spirits and the forest. This experience creates a rich sensory and cultural celebration. A visit to the Taromak tribe allows travelers to immerse themselves in the rich Rukai culture amid spectacular natural surroundings. Now, I learned a lot from this piece because I knew about the Rukai tribe, but I did not know about the Taromak tribe. This is new to me. And also, I just want to say something about diversity. If you are a ruler and you want to control people, the more heterogeneous you can make the people, the better. That means everybody has similar beliefs, similar habits, a similar culture, and a similar language. So whenever you see somebody walking in and trying to conquer an area or establish their authority, they're going to try to get rid of diversity. And especially if it's Aboriginal tribes, they will say these people are savages or whatever and simply try to get rid of them. That's happened all over the world. But over time, we realize one of our big jobs in this life is to learn about diversity and incorporate ourselves into a world that's full of diversity.
To add context, some empires in the past did a very good job of incorporating disparate peoples into their empire, but a lot of that entailed having less control. If you swear your fidelity to me, if you pay your tribute, I don't care what your religion is, I don't care how your houses look or what language you speak. You just need fidelity. And I think this speaks maybe to the amount of control you desire. If you need to be extremely controlling, then you need to get rid of these differences and you need a homogeneous culture. But great empires were built on diversity. Great empires were built through different people. And I can easily rattle off 4 or 5 great empires that lasted hundreds of years. Diversity, different cultures, different ways of living life is not a bad thing.
If you want to have a really strong, really rich culture, you need to respect and incorporate diversity. And that's something we struggle with now because some governments are trying to get rid of anybody or just pretend they don't exist or force them to hide who they really are. People who are different from the mainstream. And that can include people who speak a different language, people who have a different color skin or different kind of hair, people who have different sexual preferences. That's a big one. So many of these things, they all enrich our lives. It enriches our human experience. So always keep that in mind. Whatever the culture is, it's going to teach us something really precious and valuable about our humanity. So let's go back to the beginning. Discovering Taidong, a cultural journey through indigenous villages. Taidong, located on Taiwan's southeastern coast, is renowned for its vibrant indigenous cultures and breathtaking natural landscapes. So in one short sentence, fairly short, it's telling us some of the wonderful things about Taiwan's east coast. The land itself, the landscapes are beautiful, and they have many rich indigenous cultures.
Indigenous is an extremely important word today. Some people might call them local or native. You might even hear the more out-of-date Indian culture. You might hear
US
that word.
Anyway, yeah.
That's right.
But I also have to point out that even the indigenous peoples, they mostly migrated from somewhere else. So as far as we know, the Austronesians came from China. So from the China mainland, actually, when they were connected, there was no Taiwan Strait then. They just walked over dry land and came to Taiwan. In the U.S., I visited Siberia once and I thought, they look so much like Alaskan native peoples. That's where they came from, about the area of Siberia. So they also migrated to the U.S. in waves, different groups of peoples. So indigenous is one thing that means they go way, way back, but they themselves at one time were also migrants. Okay, our second sentence now. The region is home to several indigenous tribes, including the Amis, Puyuma, Rukai, Bunun, and Paiwan, each preserving their unique languages, customs, and traditions. So this is a good sentence for becoming familiar with how you would spell the names of these groups of people or tribes in Latin letters. So we have the Chinese for all of these, which you may or may not be able to guess, like Amis is Amezu, just to help you. But there's an S at the end in English, so Amis. And Puyuma, I'm not going to tell you all the other ones in Chinese. It's against our rules. But check them. We've got it in our magazine. You can also check them online. It says that they're all preserving their unique languages. And this is true to a certain extent. A little bit more than half of the original Aborigines of Taiwan have actually lost their native languages. They've become extinct. There may be a few speakers here and there. There may be some written records here and there, but they are largely extinct. For the ones mentioned here, there are still speakers of these languages, but most of them are endangered. Unless we work really hard at language preservation, we will probably lose them in a couple generations.
Pick up your pen if you have it and underline the phrase customs and traditions. Customs generally mean a practice over a short time, and traditions are a longer time. So on my article, customs, I wrote short time, traditions, long time.
So I live near Wulai, and that is one of the areas in the whole Taipei area, probably the only one, where there is a large concentration of Aborigine people. They're the Atayal tribe, and I really appreciate it that whenever I take the 849 bus, I can hear the stop announcements in Atayal. I think that is really neat. Our next sentence, tribal tours in Taidong offer visitors an opportunity to explore traditional rituals, craftsmanship, and ways of life for meaningful cultural experiences. We forget about a lot of these things because as modern people, we've become so reliant on having everything handed to us on a silver platter. Our food, we just buy it. And for our devices, somebody else manufactures it. I buy it. I stay in touch with everybody through my advice. You think of that whole chain of production. How did you get that device? How did you get that food? How do we get our water? How do we get our electricity? You have a saying in Chinese that when you drink water, you should think of the origin of the water, the source of the water. We should do that more with everything in our life. And this is one way of becoming a little more familiar with the way a lot of humanity lived their daily life many years ago.
Let's look at the word a ritual here. We have traditional rituals. Traditional rituals are these fixed actions that are done in a procedural way. We do them the same way every single time, and it's usually designed to remember something from the past.
I just want to mention one quickly because I heard a talk given by an Atayal woman who teaches weaving. She teaches all kinds of things. She's really, really versed in her own culture. And she said it's really popular among young Atayal women now to get a marital tattoo. It's what you get when you get married. It shows you're a married woman. You're an adult now. And she said that a lot of people protested. They said, that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be a meeting of the whole tribe, and we give the tattoo in our traditional way. But now they're just running off and getting their tattoo on their own. And this Atayal woman said, actually, both points of view have validity. Some people say that's a traditional way. That is the tradition. But this is one way young people have adapted and are keeping the tradition alive. Okay, let's go on to our next sentence. Among these communities, the Taromac tribe in Beinan Township stands out as the only settlement in Taitung County inhabited solely by Rukai people. And this is fairly rare because even in Wulai, you will find Han Chinese or people with Han background. There are certainly a lot of Atayal people there, but usually there's a mixture of peoples. But this one is just Rukai people.
That's got to be unique and not very common in the world.
Exactly.
All right, our second paragraph here. Situated or located in Dongxin village along the fertile banks of the Lijia River and surrounded by lush mountains, the Taromac tribe represents an important eastern branch of the Rukai people.
This is another very rich opening sentence because it tells us so much about the geographical surroundings of these people.
That's right. So fertile means there are a lot of things that can grow there. The farmland is good. And lush mountains means there is lots of plant life. It's not like kind of a bald stone mountain in the way you might think of like Fuji Mountain in Japan. This has a lot of things growing on it like you would imagine most mountains look like in Taiwan.
It's very green.
Visitors, guided by experienced hunters, can trek through the forest to learn about plants used in traditional Rukai cuisine and medicine.
And this sentence really caught my interest because I'm very interested in both. First of all, there is a lot of edible plants growing wild all over Taiwan. And who knows, someday you may be lost in the mountains or something and you need to eat. You can also get moisture water from plants. If you know which ones are safe and which ones are nutritious, what you have to do, like maybe you have to boil it and throw out the water a few times, that may help you survive in a certain situation. And there is a rich knowledge of medicine in many Aboriginal groups all over the world, like, say, South America, and we really need to understand those more. They often have secrets we have not discovered in the West.
I've been on several nature hikes where people show you medicinal plants and what you can eat. They are such fascinating hikes, and I encourage you all to go. Common examples include turmeric, prized for its bright color and healing properties, mountain celery, appreciated for its fresh aroma, and wild yam, a root vegetable rich in nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And I enjoy eating all three of these, especially the mountain celery in Taiwan.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes, that's right. It has a very powerful taste.
So, isn't it? It's better than like Western celery. I love cooking with it.
It's got a really concentrated taste. So the first one that they mention is turmeric. That has become really popular. A lot of people are growing turmeric. But I have to warn you, do not overdo it. In large quantities, it can be toxic. Small quantities, it can be medicinal. If you have too much, it can be toxic. So always keep that in mind. So if a little is good, it doesn't mean that a lot is good. I agree with you about mountain celery. I've cooked it once or twice myself. I just went out and picked it. Be careful, though, because some places have been sprayed with pesticides. You have to be really careful about that.
Smells so good, too.
Oh, yeah. And then wild yam is another thing that you can collect in Taiwan.
The guided walk enables visitors to gain insight into the tribe's deep knowledge of sustainable foraging and sense of harmony with nature.
The word sustainable is so important because from the time that I was really aware of the West and the kinds of things that we have done historically, I think of exploitation. And usually we discover something and then we just keep exploiting it until it is completely gone. Like in some islands, we exploited all their resources. There was nothing left for the native peoples. They couldn't even grow crops anymore because for example, they mined things that were available. And the people ended up having to eat processed foods from the West, and they ended up getting very fat.
To forage is a verb meaning to collect wild plants from nature. These are not things that you planted.
Okay, let's do our last paragraph now. After exploring the forest, visitors can join a traditional bow-making workshop to craft their own bows and try archery. Now, that may be something you can enjoy yourself. There are places, they're like gyms where they teach archery, but man, this would be really fun, doing it the way people used to do it. This hands-on activity offers a glimpse into ancestral hunting skills and their significance in tribal life. The important thing is sustainability. They would not kill more than they needed, and so that way the ecology mostly stayed in balance.
This is something I did a lot in Boy Scouts, actually. And I know Boy Scouts has come under fire, but I really did learn a lot of respect for native cultures, and they would have indigenous people come and teach us a lot of fun stuff, and I always enjoyed that.
I had the same experience with Campfire Girls. At night, the tribe hosts a musical feast featuring songs and dances that tell stories of ancestral spirits and the forest. This one really grabbed me because I love world music of any kind. This sounds really, really exciting. This experience creates a rich sensory and cultural celebration. So you will hear sounds that you've just never heard in other styles of music. If you're only listening to the top 20, you get a very, very narrow view and experience of music. There's so many kinds of music. A visit to the Taromac tribe allows travelers to immerse themselves in the rich Rukai culture amid spectacular natural surroundings. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to mention something I've been doing lately that I recommend for everybody. As a form of exercise, I dance every morning. I go to Spotify and I pick a different culture or country every few days. For example, I will pick Argentina indie music, or I will pick Madagascar pop music, or Papua New Guinea, any culture, or Gabon. Nobody hears about Gabon. They have beautiful music. You can find it all on Spotify and you can listen to it for free.
Absolutely, man. And people kind of diss Spotify. I'm with you. I listen to so much hip hop out of like the southern part of Africa, not South Africa, but the southern part of Africa. They have such good music
Beautiful
coming
music.
out of there, man.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be real artsy music. It's legitimate, good, radio-friendly music that's just from a different place, and they got different sounds and vibes, and it's so fun.
I think it's something that we should promote, especially in a place like the U.S., where we have become less interested in and tolerant of diversity. That's all we have time for today. Tune in next time to hear part 2 of Discovering Taidong, a cultural journey through indigenous villages. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.